I think we saw that here this week.
Now, James Hall, we know other guys design lures. They even put their names on them, but they don't have the command of them like Kevin VanDam.
That would be correct, and I think maybe it's attention to detail, or maybe it is vision. You talk about Kevin VanDam and designing lures, and he's not just designing how they run in the water; he's designing also how they fall. I mean, there's not a whole lot of guys that would probably think about that when designing a lipless crankbait, and that is something that Kevin VanDam thought. It's vision, and then once he gets on the water, he's not content with them either. He changed out his hooks this event. And he did that last year as well for a very specific reason, and that's because he makes that bait as effective as it can possibly be for the conditions he's fishing.
And let's not forget, he designed the hooks that he used on the bait too, for a very specific reason.
Did he have anything to do with a car he drove down in? Dano, we understand how good Kevin is. On day one of this classic, we saw Aaron Martins take the lead. Kevin was third. But the story seemed to be, oh my gosh, Kevin VanDam is in the hunt for another Classic Championship. How is it that Kevin steals the spotlight even when he's not in first place?
I think, parallels been made to Kevin being similar to Tiger Woods over the years. And even when Tiger didn't have a good golf tournament, the story was still about Tiger. And Kevin's no different. We talked about last night how it seems like everybody wants to know where Kevin is. And Steve mentioned that a lot of these guys think they're fishing for second if Kevin's in the field. And it doesn't surprise me that everybody was, wow, Kevin's there again. It doesn't surprise me that, because everybody wants to know where he is. Everybody needs to know where he is.
It's like a wide receiver coming across the middle and hearing that linebacker footsteps there. If Kevin VanDam's in the hunt, you've got to know where he is. You've got to know. And I think that's where Kevin's just fishing against the fish. The rest of these guys have got to beat the fish and Kevin VanDam. James, how tough is that?
Evidently, very, very difficult. According to Aaron Martins, it may be impossible.
I was Aaron was up here on the podium getting ready to take the stage for the press conference, and he was talking to one of his friends, and I wrote down exactly what he says. I tried, man, but that guy is just too dang good. Louie, you work so closely with Kevin. Is he that much better than these guys?
Oh, I think he's pretty well answered that this week.
Well, I thought the first three classics were luck.
The first three classics were the cookies.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, when we were in the parking lot, Kevin got paid. He gets paid a lot of compliments from these guys on a one-on-one basis. And Kevin Worth came up to him, and I thought it was a great thing. Steve, you were there. He said, let me tell you, you are the greatest thing to ever happen to our sport right now. And he said, because of you, we're going to grow. And he goes, there's not another guy in this field that can do what you're doing, because you're proving to people that there is something something special about being a professional bass fisherman. And I think he made a valid point. And I think that's something that, when we talk about how great he is, he does a great job of representing the sport.
No doubt about it. I think we're all excited about having Kevin as a champion because he is so good for the sport. He's such a good communicator. He's so very professional. Not only is he the best angler out there, he may be the best interview as well. So I don't think any of us have any gripes about Kevin holding the crown. Steve, I want to change gears a little bit and pose this question to you. Aaron Martins has now finished fourth in the Bassmaster Classic 4 times. So much has been made of Aaron's psyche and what this might do to him. What's your take on the whole Aaron always the bridesmaid, never the top dog in this deal?
Well, he's fishing against Kevin for one thing, but make no mistake about it, Aaron Martins is one of the best fishermen in the elite field. I've seen him. I saw him in the very beginnings out there in California in the opens, and remember also that he's never had a real job. He's been a bass fisherman for money from the very beginning. Aaron may perhaps overanalyze things, and perhaps this week, obviously, he had other things on his mind. I know that they had to affect him at times, and it's just tragic. guy is good. His day is coming. Believe me. He's won elite tournaments. He's won opens, and he'll win his classic.
Louis, you first told me about this, and I talked to Aaron about it briefly afterwards. The crankbait incident on day 2. Fill us in on that. Nothing was made of that in the press conference, so folks, we got it right here on Bassmaster.com. Here's quite a scoop.
Well, apparently Aaron, before the tournament began, he was convinced he was going to have to catch it flipping, and he had all flipping rods rigged until Wednesday. And then when he got into Catawatchee and saw what was going on, he got rid of all of his flipping stuff and tied on a spinnerbait and caught it well. And then he felt like he still had too much stuff in his boat, so he took all of his shallow running crankbaits out of his boat on Friday. And then he's out there fishing spinnerbait and they're not eating it, and Kevin keeps going by catching 4-pounder after 4-pounder on shallow running crankbaits, and he didn't have any in his boat. So, but he had put him in his boat today, and you saw the results. I don't know what he caught, 24, 25 pounds. So, I think one of the things about Aaron, he just thinks too much. He's a genius. He's a brilliant fisherman. I think he overthinks things sometimes.
I think he answered some of his own demons today, if you look at the way he came back today. Because I think every single one of us sitting here probably said Aaron just faded yesterday. But for him to come back the way that he came back, obviously he had a handle on the area that he was in. He had a handle on what the fish were doing. He is one of the most gifted fishermen in this field. But I think he probably answered some of those demons today to come back like he did and to catch as big a bag as he did, to give himself a chance to win. I mean, obviously he was up against a mountain, but he did give himself a chance to win.
And I wouldn't disagree with you, Dano, but he was he caught 25-14 today, so he made a big run today. But I would point out that it might have been a little easier to come back today because he wasn't in the hunt anymore. He was 8-9 pounds out. Sure. The pressure on some level was off.
True. That's something that we talk about occasionally, but you can't overlook it, and that is how Kevin rises to the occasion when he needs to. He seems to have this reserve of killer instinct, if you want to call it that he can reach down and in classics, in the postseason events, at the end of last elite season, he got off to a bad start, and then he starts to put it together. And this is something too that he himself has said. What separates everybody at this level is kind of your not only your understanding of fish and the environment, but how you handle mental pressure.
Okay, guys, I'm going to put you all on the spot in just a minute and ask you, what do you take away from this classic? What's the story? What's the most salient element of it all? And I'll start by giving you mine, and that is that you must never, ever, ever assume that Kevin VanDam is not going to be a factor. This year at Media Day, I was talking to a former Classic champ, a former AOI, and I asked him, I said, I'm not going to reveal his name because I still want to give him a hard time about it. But I asked him, give me the name of 3 guys who are going to be a factor in this tournament who you think have the best chance to win. He gave me 3 names. Some of the ones we've all heard, like Hackney and Pace and so forth, Klein. But then he stopped and he said, I'll tell you one guy who's not going to be a factor here and who is not going to win this Bassmaster Classic, and that is Kevin VanDam. And I thought, wow, what a bold statement to make. So
Can I make a guess at who that was, Ken?
No, you may not. Please don't. Please don't. Let's not embarrass this guy. I'll embarrass him later. But I thought, what a bold statement. And I immediately took Kevin off my fantasy team. And that was obviously a massive mistake. And then so people are thinking, well, Kevin's out of this one. And last year, no one less than Louis Stout told me that Kevin would not win the Bassmaster Classic.
I told you as well. Yes, what, 2 or 3 days ago, I went on record saying Rook was going to win.
Scott Rook, and apparently Steve Price picked you to do well on a day as the kiss of death. So, it has finally gotten through my thick head that no matter who's in the field, no matter what the conditions are, no matter what season it is, no matter if there are typhoons or hurricanes or anything else, this tournament is not over until Kevin VanDam weighs in. Period. End of statement. He's the best there ever was, and finally I think I've learned that. Louis, let me get your take. What do you take away from the 2011 Bassmaster Classic?
Well, as a wannabe bass fisherman myself, I think that the thing that I've learned that I'm taking away from this is I'm going to start paying attention to if I'm on one one of those 3-day fishing trips, I'm going to start paying a little closer attention to the weather and the conditions and trying to start thinking ahead of time instead of, throwing the same bait that had been catching them for 4 hours.
I like it. Dano, what about you?
I'm gonna take, outside of Kevin winning and how he won, I'm gonna take Gerald Swindle bringing that young man through that is dying of cancer and what that meant for Gerald, and then also how Brandon Polaniak did with his tribute to Brian Kershaw. Those are two moments that will stick for a long time.
It's a sport that connects people and changes lives. There's no doubt about that. James Hall, it's your turn. Your takeaway from the 2011 Classic.
I think they got to change fantasy fishing and take a page out of the Wheel of Fortune page and playbook, and like Wheel of Fortune at the end where you're trying to get that last word, they give you R, S, T, and E automatically because everybody. Well, they need to go ahead and say, all right, everybody gets Kevin VanDam, and then pick the rest of your people because it's not. It takes the whole first wing out of fantasy fishing to have him in there. But basically, the coolest thing about this classic to me is that this area that is one of my favorite places on earth that got hit so hard by Katrina and that was just absolutely devastated, at least in the faces or in the minds of a lot of people that just watching mainstream media after the Deepwater Horizon blew up and spewed oil for so many days. And everybody wrote it off. Everybody assumed it was going to be dead. And so for us to come in here to this classic on a stage where the world is watching and to see these guys catch the type of fish that they did and to see how incredibly productive this system still is, I think that's the one thing that I'm most excited about.
Yeah, we've had 4 classics here and 4 radically different fisheries when you think about it. It's been quite diverse. Steve Price, we're going to wind it up with you, sir. Your takeaways from the Classic.
I think there are a lot of lessons to learn here, but the biggest one is a repetitive one, which is how good these fishermen are at this level. It is just absolutely incredible, and what an experience we as writers have to be associated with them on a daily basis. But how Kevin won, to me, is a lesson that I'll remember for quite some time.
Well, folks, there you have it. A little post-game analysis on the 2011 Bassmaster Classic. We're live from New Orleans, but the coverage continues right here on Bassmaster.com, so stick with us for the next several days and beyond as we tell you everything you ever wanted to know about bass fishing. Thank you.
Thank you.